Thanks for joining us on the weekend edition of National Focus. I'm Mervin. Coming up, government's investment in LIAT defended. DLP Senator commends government for its focus on infrastructural development, and May 31st is World No Tobacco Day. Details of our headline stories and others after this.
You're watching GIS.
Thank you for staying with us. The Ministry of Finance has invested almost $1.2 million in regional career LIAT, according to supplementary estimates for the period July to December 2014. When the estimates were debated in the House of Assembly on Wednesday, both Minister Ian Douglas and Senator Josiah Benoit, among other representatives, voiced support for that move. The Honourable Member of Parliament for the Portsmouth constituency, Ian Douglas, saw the decision as clear-cut.
Is black or white? Do you support the investment in LIAT or do you not support the investment? And it is necessary, Mr. Speaker. LIAT is responsible for at least 70% of arrivals into Dominica today, Mr. Speaker. If not LIAT, then what? I mean, we have our qualms about LIAT. We all do. Everything in life, Mr. Speaker, has its issues. But the fundamental issue here is, if not LIAT, then what? And I want to go on record as supporting this government's initiative to invest in LIAT, Mr. Speaker. It's needed, and I believe that's money well spent. And if it was not foreseen, it's a credit to this government that we can find the money that was not budgeted to invest in LIAT because it is needed.
Senator Benoit added that the investment speaks to Dominica's ability to lend a hand and keep its head above water in those financial times.
I think as a small island developing state, Dominica needs to ensure it takes every step to preserve its fragile and vulnerable economy. Tourism is indeed a significant component of our economy. And as the Honourable Member from Portsmouth pointed out, over 70%, the vast majority, 70% of our arrivals come through LIAT, our Caribbean carrier. And if we are to have a stake at the negotiating table to ensure that the jobs in the tourism sector can remain viable, that persons who have livelihoods in that sector can have the tourists come to Dominica to spend that foreign dollar, Madam Speaker, then we are going on a wrong road if we are saying we should not invest in LIAT. So once again, I want to fully support the investment in LIAT, our Caribbean carrier. Madam Speaker, this support is uncharacteristic of past governments, but it is possible and unprecedented only because of the financial prudence of the Dominica Labour Party government. Because whereas we have provided this support to LIAT, none of the public servants have had to go at their home. None of the social support programs have had to discontinue. And so it represents an expansion in this government's ability to facilitate areas of development in this country.
In more news, Director of the Dominica Bureau of Standards, Dr. Steve John, is urging farmers to take part in the National Farm Certification Scheme. He says this will allow farmers to penetrate markets within the region that would otherwise have been untouched.
With the National Farm Certification Program, we in Dominica now have the instrument through which we now can penetrate markets, not necessarily afar off, right in the region. Right in the region. The volume, the value of agricultural produce in the region is humongous, and I would suggest let us take the opportunity and penetrate it by being part of the Farm Certification Program.
The National Farm Certification Scheme was designed to reduce the cost of certification for Dominican farmers and allow more farmers to get certified. On Thursday, the Bureau of Standards received equipment which will form part of that scheme. The director says standards and certification are of utmost importance.
The farmers must be trained when they apply chemicals to protect themselves, first and foremost. That's what they're there for. At the same time, the farmers must be trained that when he apply he doesn't apply an over excess of chemicals that you have chemical residues in your food that when they come to test it over there in the market, you have a problem. Because should they ever test the chemicals in the food and discover that it is higher than what they allow, you have problems in the market from after that. Because every shipment of goods that come from Dominica, no matter who farmer, they'll be checking it. And if they ever find, again, you not meeting the requirements, your country end up on the back face.
He sees pineapples as having tremendous potential.
Recently, there came a group from Martinique who are looking for pineapples in Dominica to produce champagne wine. The man came down and he said he wanted a specific type of pineapple. So here we're starting standards, quality issues. He said he wants a pineapple that have a particular quantity of sugar and Brix level. So right now it's not any pineapple anymore. So you all guys know the varieties of pineapples that we have here in Dominica. But the guy came here to buy a specific type of pineapple.
The National Farm Certification Scheme is supported by the Dominica Good Agricultural Practice DOMGAP pilot project. The project targets 5 commodities, namely dashing, plantains, hot peppers, ginger, and pineapple on 5 farms through Dominica's 7 agricultural regions. The Ministry of Agriculture supports the vision of the Bureau of Standards and has since visited neighboring French territories to discuss possible partnerships to the higher-end markets. DOMGAP is being benchmarked against Global GAP, which allows for certification of fresh produce consumed locally and exported to the regional and international markets. The Honorable Parliamentary Representative for the Portsmouth constituency, Ian Douglas, says he is in full support of the $14.3 million supplementary estimates presented in Parliament on Wednesday. He says one of his reasons is that he sees the benefits in his own constituency.
We have a number of roads being developed right now, and I know part of that expenditure, Mr. Speaker, for the upgrade of road maintenance and community roads. A number of them are ongoing in the Portsmouth constituency right now. An important one being the Rodney Street. This is in central Portsmouth, in the heart of the town, Mr. Speaker. We've just finished spending $1 million plus on Harbour Lane, and right now we spend about $1.6 million to upgrade Rodney Street. And even while we do that, we continue to find monies to invest in the rehabilitation of the smaller roads in Chance and in Glanvilla, in the rest of the constituency. So I cannot stand here, Mr. Speaker, in all good conscience and not support the supplementary appropriation, because I see the benefits it's having not only around the country generally, but in my constituency.
He also made this statement to his counterparts in the House of Assembly.
I expect every single member in this House to stand up and itemize those issues and not look at the supplementary estimates globally or generally. Itemize those issues and tell us which ones you do not support, why, and which ones you support. Because I believe your constituents are waiting to hear from you supporting those initiatives by the government, Mr. Speaker. And that is exactly what I'm doing here on behalf of the constituents of the Portsmouth constituency.
You're watching National Focus. Still to come, DLP Senator commends the Roosevelt Skerritt-led administration for its commitment to the island's infrastructure. Stay tuned.
Did you know the Caribbean Court of Justice is 2 courts in 1? The CCJ has 2 functions: an original jurisdiction, which deals with your right to move between CARICOM countries freely and your right to move your money and your business. This is the basis of the CARICOM Single Market and Economy, CSME, and the revised Treaty of Chaguaramas, and an appellate jurisdiction to hear appeals from courts of those countries which decide to use it as their final court of appeal and no longer go to the Privy Council. All CARICOM member states who have signed the agreement establishing the CCJ are members of the CCJ.
Welcome back. DLP Senator Josiah Beno has commended the Roosevelt Skerrit-led administration for its commitment to upgrading the island's infrastructure. The Honorable Senator made the comment as he addressed this week's sitting of Parliament.
I would like to compliment once again this honorable government and the Minister of Public Works for the continued efforts in ensuring that the road network in Dominica is maintained and improved on a continued basis. We in the Rosa South have also benefited from improved drainage in several areas, including Fortune and Upper Castle Comfort. And so we are very happy to see that, and we want to see it continue in the months to come, which we are sure will continue under this Dominica Labour Party government. In closing, Madam Speaker, I would also like to support this Supplementary Appropriation Act because of the view because of the support for our eye screening program. Madam Speaker, this Dominica Labour Party government has ensured that every young person has access to quality education. And having achieved that milestone, we would like to now ensure that no student in the classroom is impaired from reaching their full potential. It is remiss that I cannot recall one of the speakers on the opposition side who spoke in support of this effort. It's very remiss, Madam Speaker. And I would say that it represents a broader vision by this government to embrace all young persons with disabilities. As we can see in the Newtown community right now, we are building the first school that will be accessible to persons with disabilities, Madam Speaker. And so for these and countless other reasons, I fully support the Supplementary Appropriations Act and look forward to seeing its programs unfold in the respective communities. Thank you.
In more news, the World Health Organization is calling on countries the world over to aid in curbing the trade of tobacco and tobacco products. Every year on May 31st, World No Tabacco Day is recognized with the aim of highlighting the health risks associated with tobacco use and advocating for effective policies to reduce tobacco consumption. In 2015, the focus is on ending the illicit trade of tobacco. The theme simply is Stop the Illicit Trade of Tobacco Products. Independent studies as well as data provided by the global customs community have shown that 1 in every 10 cigarettes consumed globally is from the illicit tobacco market. This illicit trade is an issue the world over and costs countries billions in loss of revenue. Also, according to the World Health Organization, the global tobacco epidemic kills nearly 6 million people every year, including 600,000 affected by secondhand smoking. If the situation is not arrested, then it is estimated that more than 8 million people will die every year by 2030. World No Tabacco Day seeks to, among other things, raise awareness about the drug's harmful effects on people's health, especially the youth, and highlight how the illicit trade of tobacco products allow criminal groups to amass wealth to use to finance organized crime. In recognition of World No Tabacco Day, the Ministry of Health here in Dominica has planned a week of activities to highlight the risk associated with consuming tobacco. GIS News will also speak with the Ministry of Health about the situation of tobacco consumption in Dominica and bring an update in a subsequent newscast. In other news, stakeholders are looking closely at the response given to the management of rape and sexual assault cases on the island. Representatives from the Ministry of Health along with the Pan American Health Organization held a consultation on Thursday to review the sexual assault and rape protocol in Dominica. Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Health, Helen Roye, says sexual assault is a serious problem globally and is of national concern for all Dominicans. She says these situations require proper management, hence the importance of proper protocol.
This protocol has been developed from the recommendations of medical experts based on best practices. It is intended to be used by healthcare providers to ensure comprehensive care of sexual assault patients. It is important because priority medical care is to be provided to the sexual assault patients with sensitivity, culturally appropriate and respectful manner, regardless of when the sexual assault occurred. The type of care received will start him or her on the process of becoming a survivor. The Ministry of Health believes that evidence should always be collected to ensure that our persons are protected. All attempts should be made to align the protocol with the National Protocol for Sexual Assault, and it is of paramount importance that all healthcare providers, including physicians, nurse practitioners, nurses, and support staff, be provided with training to gain experience in dealing with this complex issue.
She says there are issues which need to be considered to ensure that protocol is well executed, such as a coordinated team approach and victim-centered care.
It is my hope that sexual assault patients will be viewed as priority emergency cases and be provided the necessary means to ensure patient privacy. The medical or nursing examiners should recognize that every minute the patient spends waiting for a medical exam, there may be a loss of evidence and undue trauma. Because everyone reacts differently following a sexual assault, a victim should be allowed to express his or her emotions in a non-judgmental and supportive environment.
The Ministry of Health looks forward to the submission of the document to the Honorable Minister for Health for submission to Cabinet. We now join Kimani Seja for this week's edition of Flashback.
Welcome to this week's edition of Flashback. In the headlines this week, the Social Welfare Division Child Abuse Prevention Unit held a peer counselors workshop with students in an effort to end child abuse in Dominica. The peer counselors learned to define child abuse, recognize the signs of various forms of child abuse, as well as how to deal with disclosure on child abuse. Parliament debated an over $14.3 million supplementary appropriation bill on Wednesday. The bill was tabled by the Honorable Finance Minister, Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit. The Ministries of Public Works, Finance, Health, Agriculture, and the Electoral Office incurred expenses totaling that amount. Effective May 28, 2015, Dominicans will no longer require visas to enter the Schengen states. The nation's leader, Honorable Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit, made the announcement at Parliament on Thursday. The visa waiver allows for a maximum stay of 90 days within any 180-day period. On Friday, the Bureau of Standards received $30,000 worth of safety and personal protective equipment to augment certification of Dominican farmers. Farmers will receive the equipment once they have undergone training to use them. The equipment was funded by the European Union under the Banana Accompanying Measures Program. Also this week, a bill for an act to provide for the regulation of banking business, the establishment of a single banking space, and for incidental and related matters, and the repeal of the Banking Act No. 16 of 2005 was approved by members of the House of Parliament. And at the second meeting of the first session of the 9th Parliament on Thursday, members of Parliament debated and sided in agreement with a motion moved by the Honorable Finance Minister Roosevelt Skerrit for the passing of this bill. These were some of the headline stories making the news this week. For details of each of these stories and others, visit our website or Facebook page. Let's get back to Mervin.
Thanks, Kimani, and that's the English news. McPherson St. Luce is next with the Creole highlights.
Alors tout le monde, bienvenue à cette nouvelle en créole. Non moins, c'est McPherson St. Luce. Premièrement, ministre pour les Affaires étrangères, Senator Honorable Francine Baron, représenté Dominique en grand meeting conseil ACP qui prend place à Bruxelles semaine là. ACP qui a représenté 70 pays Caraïbes, Afrique et pays Pacifique. Grand meeting là discuté en parmi d'autres, bagaille qui a affecté ces pays. Très important, c'est les affaires finances pour ces pays-là, Economic Partnership Agreement, Summit Changement Climatique en décembre et puis Agenda après l'année là. Ces ministres-là aussi d'accord plateforme pour petits pays qui ont développé. D'autres bagailles qui tapent attention, c'était finances pour développement, voyage, commerce et puis coopération entre ces pays-là. ACP ka aussi mette attention relation et puis European Union. Yon bagay qui était très important, c'était ça fait au la Dominique ensemble et puis d'autres pays Caraïbes, si agrément pour citoyens ailleurs voyager pays Saint-Jean sans un visa. Honorable Baron si moment historique ça là à ce compte Dominique. En la nouvelle, ça fait certification bien important pour produire assez la place là. Parole ça là, sur le directeur agriculture Ricky Bromant, pendant la cérémonie où les habitants recevraient équipement hot bam pour protection ailleurs, pour donner bonne qualité produit à l'occasion ailleurs.
Les chaque fois nous ça nous fait à Dominique ou bien ça nous fait normalement c'est pour international, c'est pour monde international, c'est pour touristes, c'est ça. Mais ça m'a dit c'est ça bien important oui, mais nous pouvons faire c'était aussi qui ça nous mange les assiettes nous, ça nous bat famille nous, ça nous vend bas monde bien bon avec pas ni problème, avec pas ça mais problème pour nous.
En la nouvelle, ça fait monde qui a allé la chasse tortille, c'est bagaille qui a continué organisation conservation net. Parole ça là, sur l'officier organisation là, Simon George.
Ah, ça c'est un gros problème. Parce que, ouais, toutes ces tortilles là, toutes ces 7 espèces là, c'est, on va dire ça, ils sont endangered, ils sont en danger. Si nous continuons et puis nous pas faire quelque chose pour sauver eux, peut-être 10 années, il va rester tortille encore. Bon, là nous sommes à Rosalie. Ça c'est un problème nous pour dire les gens qui viennent tuer tortille pour viande comme ça. Pour actuellement c'est pas un gros problème en Rosalie, mais ça va continuer sur l'autre plage. Bon, mais c'est même tortille là qui va venir Rosalie, yo même quand la plaine, yo même quand monter pas prendre dans celle plage, peut-être tortille là on va prendre peut-être 5 fois pour saison. Ça va commencer en mars, ça va finir en juillet.
George fait parole que protection tortue très important tout partout.
La première fois, il vient pour nous Rosalie. Ok, nous l'avons protégé, ça fait bien. Mais il est là dans l'autre plage. Peut-être, même s'il n'est pas là dans la grosse plage, là, la plaine, là, il y a des gens qu'on nous, et puis peut-être il là, il pas point. Mais peut-être il y a là dans une petite plage. Hein? On va venir si ou bien, il coupe couille. Ouais. Ça, c'est un gros problème. Ça pas juste. Comme si nous pas éclairés, nous pas avoir danger, puis nous pas avoir l'avantage, nous pas connaître ça nous ni.
Et puis finalement, le Parlement Dominique a approuvé un bill pour régulation des affaires business bank qu'a conduit. Pour le ministre Honorable Roosevelt Skerritt, terminer bill ça en Parlement pour taper pouvoir pour lui. Bill 9 Salah qui a fait provision pour établir une seule place pour banque en pays OECS, faire business avec un seul power sol et puis régulation East Caribbean Central Bank. Tous ces pays ont une autorité pour passer législation qui a concerné Bill Salah. Pour le ministre Honorable Roosevelt Skerritt, fait parole qui mentionne législation 9 Salah qui mettait institution Banque Dominique chaîne ces régulations Salah Road East Caribbean Central Bank. Tout le monde à ses côtés, gouvernement ensemble et puis opposition, supporter bill là. Messieurs, mesdames, ça c'est tout pour nouvelle à créole. Pour à présent, non moins c'est McPherson, c'est Luce. Un bon week-end. Au revoir.
Coming up next, your tip of the day.
Get in and fasten your seatbelt, okay?
Mom, why do I have to wear seatbelts? I do not want to.
James, when I ask you to fasten your seatbelt, please do as I say. It's for your own safety and protection, okay?
Yeah.
Protect yourself, protect the child. Always fasten your seatbelt. Crashes can happen at any time. It is better to be safe than sorry. Remember, seatbelts save lives. A message brought to you by the Violence and Injury Surveillance System Committee in collaboration with the Pan American Health Organization.
How do you know when to increase your exercise? The general rule of thumb is to up the amount of miles run for races half marathon length and longer by 5 to 10% each week. And that's all for this edition of National Focus. We always welcome your suggestions and comments. Drop us an email at gis@dominica.gov.dm or visit our website at news.gov.dm. Like our Facebook page, facebook.com/GIS News Dominica, and follow us on Twitter at GIS Dominica. You can also catch up on past National Focus newscasts on our GIS Dominica YouTube channel. From all of us here on the GIS News production team, I'm Mervin. Thanks for watching and have a great weekend.